There's a word I've been using for years that doesn't officially exist. And when I explain it, people go for very, very quiet. Because they immediately recognize it. They recognize the moment they've been seen by it and the moment they've completely missed it by. The word is seenership. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to explain what it is, why it changes everything, and how you lead, how you work, and how you show up as a human being, and why it's one of the most undervalued skills in every organization I've worked with. My name is Maryanne Smith. I spent years in commercial leadership, data infrastructure, health technology, ecosystems across 4 continents. And in all of that, I've watched organizations either thrive or fracture based on one thing they really talk about in boardrooms. Not strategy, not headcount, not product, how people treat each other when it's hard. The observation led me to write about kindness by design, a framework for building high performance culture without breaking the people who create it. And seenership is at the heart of it. I want to tell you about a moment I witnessed that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. A leader, smart, driven, respected, was sitting in a one-to-one with someone on his team. The team member was speaking. She was describing a project that had gone sideways, giving context, explaining the circumstances. And he was looking at her and he was nodding. He was physically present, but he wasn't there. You know the look when someone's eyes are in the room, but their attention has already moved on. She finished speaking. He gave a response that was technically appropriate, actionable, kind on the surface, but it was built entirely on what he assumed she was feeling, not what she actually was. And she felt that conversation feeling more alone. She left that conversation feeling more alone than when she walked in. It's not a bad person, wasn't a bad leader. He wasn't missing a skill, a specific learnable, deep skill. He was missing seenership, the ability to observe the internal state of another person through the extended lens of self-awareness. That's seenership. Let me say that again, because I want it to land properly. Seenership is observing the internal state of another person through your eyes, your self-awareness. There are 3 parts to that. First, observation of internal state, not what someone says, not what they show you, what they're actually experiencing underneath. The fear behind the confidence, the grief behind the professionalism, the disengagement behind the compliance, internal states that are often invisible unless you're trained to see them. Second, of another person. This is not about you. Seenership is fundamentally an act of outward attention. It requires that you temporarily set aside your own narrative, your assumptions, your agenda, your interpretation. and genuinely enter someone else's experience through the extended lens of self-awareness. And here's where it gets interesting. You cannot see another person clearly if you don't know what's distorting your own lens, your biases, your projections, your emotional history with that person or with a person like them. Seenership asks you to do both at once. Be rigorously self-aware and fully other-focused. That's the extended things. It compounds complex. It sounds complex. It becomes intuitive, but it can be practiced. You might be thinking this sounds like empathy. I've heard this before. And I want to address this directly. Empathy is a feeling. Seenership is a practice. Empathy says, I feel what you feel. Seenership says, I notice what you're experiencing without projecting what I feel in your position. The distinction matters enormously at work because the most common leadership failure I see isn't cruelty. It's not neglect. It's misread empathy. Leaders who believe they're connecting with their people but are actually responding to a version of that person they've constructed in their own heads. They're empathizing with a projection, not a person. Seenership is corrective. Psychological safety, the number one predictor of high-performing teams per Google's Project Aristotle, depends not on whether a leader intends to make someone feel safe. It depends on whether people actually feel seen, heard, and valued. Those are two different things. The gap between intention and impact is where seenership lives. So why don't we do this naturally? If seenership is so valuable, why isn't it everywhere? 3 reasons. 1, speed. Most professional environments are designed for through genuine observations require a moment of stillness that most organizations have engineered out of culture. You can't see someone clearly at 2,000 miles per hour. Speed is the enemy of seenership. 2, self-protection. Truly seeing another person requires a degree of vulnerability on your part. If I really see your pain, your fear, your exhaustion, I might have to do something about it. I might be implicated. Seenership asks us to stay open in precisely the situations where our instinct is to close down. 3, the assumption of sameness. This is the most insidious one. We assume often unconsciously that people experience things the way we do. That what us, that what we'd find hard, they'd find hard. It's a form of cognitive laziness dressed up as understanding. Seenership doesn't assume sameness. it stays genuinely true. I'm going to end with something personal. The concept of Seenership didn't come from academic research. Was of watching when it was present and what happened when it was absent. It came from being in rooms where someone talked and someone walked in distressed and left unseen. And from being in rooms where someone walked in distressed and left transformed. Not because anything had been fixed, but because they had been genuinely witnessed. That's not a soft skill. That's the hardest, most high impact skill in human leadership. And it can be taught, developed, embedded into how teams work and how organizations are built. What this channel is about. Kindness by Design is a framework for building organizations where you don't have to choose between results and people, where kindness is strategic, not sentimental. It's that conversation you want to be part of. Subscribe, because we're just getting started. Subscribe if you want to go deeper. Next episode, the obstruction model. Why most organizations accidentally build systems that block the very behaviors they value. It's one of the most important ideas in the whole framework, and it's going to make a few things click. That's probably what's been bothering you for years. I'm Maryanne Smith. This is Kindness by Design. I'll see you in the next one.